You know, has anyone ever told you to just relax? And you find that's like the hardest thing in the world to actually do? Well, today, we're going to dive into this really fascinating session on group acupuncture that reveals a powerful and honestly, a kind of counterintuitive truth. Sometimes, the most effective thing you can do is nothing at all.
So this was it. This was the simple but really profound instruction given to everyone in the room. No goals, no expectations, just permission. I mean, in a world that is completely obsessed with productivity and self-improvement, that one little phrase feels almost revolutionary, doesn't it? And it's the key that unlocks everything we're about to explore.
All right, so let's set the scene. Where did all this go down? We're stepping inside a session at the Ajax Harwood Clinic. Now, this isn't some high-tech lab or a fancy spiritual retreat. Nope. It's just a simple, quiet room where a group of people gathered for ear acupuncture with a very, very unusual premise.
The environment itself was a huge part of the experience. Just picture it. People sitting together in this shared, quiet space. After a few tiny needles were gently placed in their ears, the only instruction they got was to just be still. That's it. No agenda, no guided meditation, absolutely no pressure to feel a certain way. The entire thing was built on trust, just trusting that being there was enough.
Okay, this is where it gets really, really interesting. When you take away all the pressure to achieve something, to feel something, what actually happens inside a person's mind? Well, the experiences were all over the map, which just goes to show you there is no single correct way to do nothing. So one participant described their experience just like this, and I want you to notice the words they used: quieter, darker, more settled. There's absolutely no attempt to force brightness or happiness here. Instead, what you feel is this deep sense of acceptance. It's this powerful state of just allowing things to be exactly as they are.
And then you have a totally different take. This person was actually surprised by a feeling of calm they weren't expecting at all. And this is so cool because it shows that when you let go of expectations, you literally create space for the unexpected to show up. It's all about appreciating the process, whatever it happens to bring.
Now listen to this third experience, because this one is the real pivot point for our whole explainer. This person saw colors, they felt calm, but, and this is the important part, they also had an intention to stay positive. And that's such a common human impulse, right? Of course, we all want to feel good. But this one little comment led to the central insight of the entire session.
So yeah, that stay positive comment, it became the key that unlocked the whole thing. The facilitator used it to draw this incredibly important distinction, not between good and bad, but between the act of forcing positivity and the act of simply being present. So here's the crucial point. Our brains are basically built to produce opposites. Think about it. For every thought of light, there's a potential for dark. For every positive feeling, a negative one can exist. Trying to have only one without the other is like, well, it's like trying to find a coin that only has a head side. It's just an impossible struggle against our own nature.
Let's just break this down. When you try to force positivity, it's an effort, right? You're imposing a state on yourself, you're rejecting half of your own experience, and honestly, it is absolutely exhausting. But being present? That's totally different. It's about accepting and seeing both sides of the coin. It's not about choosing positive over negative. It's about restoring balance by acknowledging the whole picture.
And that brings us right to our core definition. What even is presence? Well, it's not about feeling good all the time. It's the skill of seeing everything, the good, the bad, the joy, the fear, seeing it all clearly without getting stuck on one side. And when you can do that, perspective and balance, they just kind of come back all on their own.
Okay, so this all sounds great in a quiet little room with some needles, but how does this apply to the absolute messiness of real life, right? Well, this is where the practice goes from being a nice idea to an absolutely essential tool for navigating real-world challenges.
The reality is, our attention isn't some blank slate. It's been trained for years by our life experiences. Things like caregiving for a loved one or dealing with the echoes of family trauma. These things can literally train our brains to be hypervigilant, to constantly scan for threats. And that narrows our focus down to just the negative possibilities.
This specific example that was shared in the session is just so powerful. Imagine for a second caring for someone whose past has filled them with fear. Your own attention, it just naturally narrows, right? It becomes a shield, focused only on protection and preventing harm. And that's a survival instinct. But over time, it can trap you in a very small, very fear-filled corner of your own mind. So how do we break free from that trap? Well, the goal isn't to stop having those protective or negative thoughts. It's to change our relationship with them. This is the big shift from fighting our minds to simply accepting what they present to us.
This kind of shows you the pathway. We all start at step 1, with this problem-solving mind that wants to fix every single negative thought and feeling. The practice of doing nothing is really all about step 2, creating just enough space to notice those thoughts, without immediately trying to wrestle them into submission. And the result, eventually, is a shift to observation and then acceptance.
And the benefits of this are very real. People started to develop a much greater awareness of what was going on inside them. They became better at just tolerating uncertainty. And crucially, feelings of calm and moments of real insight started to just show up without being forced. They learned to trust the process.
So look, if you take just one thing away from all of this, let it be this. The work isn't about getting rid of your difficult thoughts. It's about creating just enough space around them so you can see them clearly, without feeling that urgent need to immediately fix them.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Pick an area of your own life, a persistent worry or a difficult feeling. What might you notice about it and about yourself if, for just a few moments, you gave yourself permission to do nothing and simply stopped trying to fix it?